As we do every Friday, we check in with KTBB owner, general manager Paul Gleiser, and you tell me what's on your mind, sir.
Good morning, Garth. We are sponsored by KE Cellars, Tyler's Old World Style Boutique Winery in the French Quarter on South Broadway across from the mall. If I were some powerful supervillain whose goal it was to kill off America, to render it impotent and meaningless on the world stage, one of the things I would do is marginalize men. I would convince as many people as possible that when it comes to men, the bad outweighs the good, and that the world would be better off if men played a significantly reduced role. If I wanted to destroy America, I'd deal preemptively with the fact that about half the children born are going to be boys. I'd make sure that boys are taught that their natural aggressiveness is bad. I'm not talking about just civilizing the natural mischief out of boys. I'm talking about emasculating boys to the point that they quit trying to win games, run faster than one another, climb trees faster, get dirty, or stand up for themselves. I'd protect American boys from even the most minor injuries, teaching them that there is no activity sufficiently worthwhile as to warrant the risk of even a skinned knee or a sprained wrist. I'd convince mothers to hover over their sons and protect them from every little thing, no matter how inconsequential. I'd make sure that young boys in America never learn to deal with pain and injury. If I wanted to make sure America was never again a world power, I'd pound the natural competitiveness out of boys. I'd insist that school activities be structured so that everyone can be called a winner, no matter how meaningless it rendered the word. I would never let America's boys taste either the sweetness of victory nor the bitterness of defeat, preferring instead a risk-free mediocrity in which there was little worth striving for. As boys began to grow up and start becoming men, I'd use popular culture to put them in their rightful places. I'd be sure that most of the television shows and movies depict men as either clueless, malicious, or absent. The most popular television shows would include offerings such as The Gilmore Girls is one example, in which the mother and daughter persevere strongly despite the fact that the mother became pregnant at age 16 and then refused to marry the father. Or I'd create a TV show and a movie franchise and call it Sex in the City, in which four extremely fashionable women use men solely for the purpose of sexual release, all the while mocking them and decrying their ineptitude, shallowness, and misogyny. To help bring about the destruction of America, I'd make sure that neither young men nor young women were ever exposed to movies or TV shows depicting men as decent and faithful husbands and fathers. To the extent that any man accomplished anything worthwhile, I'd look for a way to diminish the accomplishment. For example, instead of showcasing the founders of the country as principled and visionary, I'd make sure that the textbooks dwelt more heavily on their shortcomings, such as owning slaves, perhaps, or being unfaithful to their wives. Most important, in my quest to destroy America, I would try to convince as many women as possible that aside from the basic biology, they don't need a man in order to have children. I'd convince women that not only is it okay, it is in fact enlightened and liberated to have children and raise them without making a lifetime commitment to the father. In books and magazine articles and as much of the culture as possible, I would dismiss as passé the idea that boys need a father in order to learn to be men, and that girls need a father in order to know how a man should treat them. In order to take away from America an essential ingredient that helped make it great, I'd take the sperm from men and then turn them loose to an otherwise untethered life free from responsibility or respect. From such degeneration of the role of men in American society, I'd sit back and watch America slowly succumb to poverty, dependence, addiction, crime, suicide, urban decay, chronic unemployment, creeping hopelessness, and social unrest. As I said in this space 2 days after President Obama's inauguration, the one thing I can say I admire about him is that he is a faithful husband and father. For my money, that's the one thing he gets right. We are one day going to pay for the fact that it's the one thing about him that his acolytes never talk about. That's my word. What's yours? Go to ktbb.com/youtellme, and you tell me. I know that some of you are listening politely when I talk about the wines at KE Cellars, but you're quietly thinking to yourself, yeah, Paul, well, I'm sure the wine's pretty good for locally produced wine, but serious wines come from California. Listen up. Earlier this month, Tyler Today magazine hosted a blind wine tasting competition. KE Cellars entered 2 wines, their 2005 4-Use Syrah and the 2007 Keeper Sol Estates Merlot, against comparable California wines rated 90 or above by Wine Spectator magazine. The results in a blind tasting competition: the 4-Use Syrah was preferred 33-19. and the Keepersall Estates Merlot was preferred 33-21. In other words, the KE Cellars wines blew out the highly rated California wines against which they competed in a blind tasting competition hosted by a neutral party. If you haven't yet done so, go by KE Cellars today and ask to try any wine in the collection. Try the 2007 Merlot. It's what I'm drinking right now. Then grab a bottle to take home to enjoy in the quiet, cool seating area when you listen to live music. KE Cellars, Tyler's Old World Style Boutique Winery in the French Quarter on South Broadway across from the mall, and online at KECellars.com.
Need to fill up.